minutes. Now we're going to get to the heart of the matter tonight. We'll have some questions, and ground rules up here are pretty simple. Have about 2 minutes to answer each question. Timing signs will be displayed and displayed, actually. So we're going to try to, as we said before, we've drawn the order, which was Roger, Sarah, and Tom that we started with. And what I'm going to try to do is I'll do the first question in that order, and then I'll try to rotate those as we go along. So without any further delay, let's start with the first question, and we'll start with Roger. And obviously this question will be for all three of you, but we'll start out with a transportation question. The CDOT is currently conducting a programmatic environmental impact statement for the I-70 mountain corridor from Golden to Glenwood Springs that will select a preferred alternative for travel management. What do you think is the long-term solution for solving the traffic problem on I-70 while minimizing environmental impact? And we'll start with Roger.
The long-term solution is obviously light rail. It's a ways out, but studies have already been done. I think a price tag of somewhere in the neighborhood of $4 billion was suggested. I had a chance to talk to Hans-Peter Faganini, the former CEO of Swiss Rail, about light rail, and he said in order to make it economically successful, you have to go between two major cities. So I think we should think in terms of Denver, Salt Lake, with Vail on the way, rather than trying to just stop it in Vail. And I think we should look seriously at holding the Olympics, because the Olympics would get the whole state behind light rail. So that's where it's going.
Okay, and I should mention also, Matt's walking around the room here. He has some cards. If you would like if you have a question that you would like asked, please fill out one of those and we'll grab those from you. Sarah, same question.
Thank you. Well, I believe that the PEIS has actually been expanded now to run from DIA to at least to the Eagle Airport and/or parts beyond. What I'd like to focus on is Eagle County particularly. I think while the group is looking at a regional vision or the entire I-70 corridor, and they're looking at breaking it into pieces as they look at the possibilities. I think certainly mass transit is one of those. It may vary though as it moves up and down the corridor. What I think for Eagle County is primarily important is that we look at hand in hand with the folks that are working with the I-70 coalition, that we not only look to work with them, but that Eagle County take the forefront on this process. And rather than starting maybe at the Front Range and moving west, what about starting west and moving back to Denver? If we could look at putting in a mass transit system, partnering with Union Pacific, and using the right-of-way that exists within Eagle County, we could easily, or not easily, and certainly at an extensive cost, but we could construct a light rail system that could be second to none to service our valley, and then by doing so, we could be the momentum for it to happen through the entire I-70 corridor. Right now, it looks as though the price tag to do from Dot Zero perhaps to Vail would be somewhere, at least the price tag was quoted at somewhere around $250 million. Well, by the time that could actually come to fruition, I think we would probably double that, close to $1 billion or $500 million. But it's feasible, and there are groups working locally as well as the I-70 coalition, and I think that that's certainly something that I would like to put a great effort into working on during my first few years in office.
And lastly, Tom.
Yes, I received a question from this group on transportation that said, do you support or oppose building a public rail transit system along the I-70 mountain corridor instead of a major highway widening, and instead oppose or support? I don't support either of those. Quite frankly, I think that we don't need to widen the highway, and I don't think we need to have rail transit. I think there's actually two issues when we look at I-70. I think one of the issues is what Sarah's touched on, the issue of Eagle County. I think the other issue is coming from Denver to the mountain area. And I guess what I would like to see, and I wrote an article which is on my website, it was in the paper a couple of years ago, which states something to the effect of we ought to use our brains instead of trains. And I think we can work with scheduling, we can work with incentives, we can work with all kinds of things so we can use our computers and our daily life to alter some activities so that we create incentives to come up here during the week, that we avoid the 4 hours on the weekend, that the traffic is really a problem. The rest of the year, or the rest of the time, I-70 actually has the capacity to carry the traffic that we have. It's only at those peak periods that we need to deal with it. So I would propose that we get to work, get out our computers. I think if you read the letter I wrote, it's going to take a lot longer than 30 seconds to read. But if you would read that, I think you would find out that I have some ideas and I'm asking people for other ideas. But to me, I would rather see us use our computer ability to maybe change patterns a little bit than use our monstrous horsepower ability to move some mountains. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's move on to the second question. Based on what you know about the Colorado HB 1177 roundtables, interbasin roundtable, do you agree with Department of Natural Resources Director Russell George that this interbasin compact process means the west slope now effectively has real basin of origin protection? And this time we'll start with Sarah.
Well, I was afraid to say that. I think the first few lines say, based on what you know about the Colorado HB 1177 roundtables, and I have to be absolutely honest, I know very little about it and would defer really to Roger, because I'm guessing that he can address that more clearly.
Secondly, we'll go to Tom.
I wouldn't even say I know very little about it. I know nothing about it.
And lastly, Roger.
I don't know a lot about it either. I know something about the interbasin compacts where the lower basin states own half of Colorado's water, and that's a fixed amount. That's mainly Phoenix, Los Angeles, and Las Vegas, and places like that. And Denver wants the rest of the water. So we're kind of in the middle, of course, but the interbasin compact let's slope now effectively has a real basin of origin protection. I doubt it.